Morning weight. Morning weight. I have broken new ground, but I'm just at the cusp of a pretty large milestone. I was 269.1 this morning after doing my business, which is really the only time that you should weigh yourself and get an accurate reading, because it's when you have the emptiest stomach and it's the most repeatable value that you can get day. Because like if you weigh yourself at noon for a week straight, dude, by the time it's by the time you've had however much water that day, you've eaten breakfast, you've eaten lunch, I mean, your weight is now completely fluctuated between, upwards of I guess it kind of depends on how big you are as a person, but 5 pounds, 8 pounds, like that sort of fluctuation during the daytime is very reasonable. So if you want a legitimate kind of time or just repeatable value that you can get to track your weight progression, your morning weight fasted before you eat, before you drink anything, that's where it's at. That is where it's fucking at. So I definitely attribute some of that to just being extra, full of carbs, because I did have my last meal like pretty much right at midnight. So if I weighed myself at 7:30, I probably still have some of that food floating around in me. So a little bit kind of cheating. Anytime you have like a little spike in weight like that, even if it is the morning weight, which is like the most accurate value, it's not like you don't just gain 4 pounds of muscle over the course of one day. Right? It's not how it works. But that is a good sign, because every new peak means that the kind of baseline is increasing. Which, not that I'm surprised, but that's just how it's going to look. I mean, I guess if you had your calorie intake in your day like robotically rigid, where it absolutely same meals, everything, like your fluid levels were being manually monitored 24/7, maybe then you could have like a constant like 0.3 grams of, or like 0.1 pound of muscle gain per day, and like if you got on the scale every day it would look the same. But that's not real life. That's never what it can look like. So bulking up or cutting down on a day-by-day basis, it's always going to look like this. Like the scale of your weight changes is going to be up and down, and it might have a 5-pound jump and a 3-pound drop, and it's right. Day by day isn't really something you need to concern yourself with. If you wake up a little bit light, whatever, right? Stick to your diet. Make sure you're drinking enough water. Hit your calories. Those little fluctuations even themselves out in the long run. So that's where looking at your kind of weekly averages, I mean, even just weighing yourself every week could be a good kind of indicator. I end up doing it every day just because I'm not anxious, but I'm always I always want to see what I weigh. I'm just always, I always want to be as informed as possible. But that's pretty fucking wild. And I tell you what, I don't necessarily feel 270. I'd say it right now probably closer to more like 267, 268 as like the average. That was just kind of a spike. But with food plus clothes, I mean, I'm like 274 right now walking around. I don't really feel 274, which may may not be a good thing. It's like, where's the bar? Like, would I have to be like a 320 pounder to say, all right, now I feel kind of big? Oh geez. Well, how about I get to that, I cross that bridge when I get there. So plan for today, back, really one of the simpler ones. I mean, it's for me at least, since back has always been a strong point, and I don't really think that that's purely genetic, because when I was younger, before I got into any kind of dedicated weight training at like 16, I had a lot of kind of calisthenics training from doing gymnastics. Now I reference that a lot, but on back days it really comes into play, because a lot of the training that those guys are doing, tons of pull-ups, tons of not planches, but it's I don't even, oh yeah, levers. Anybody that's into like calisthenics, they know what I'm talking about there. That was all we were doing. We weren't sitting there pumping out dumbbell curls at like 150-pound 14-year-old kid. We were doing pull-ups and all sorts of like actual functional movements. So even back then, before I really started working out, I had a very defined lat spread, just as like a 160 pounder, because my back was ahead of the game. So from doing all that, I think it set me up for success back wise, because for one, it was already developed a little bit above everything else, but also having done, a ton of kind of pull-up style training. Not even, I mean, nothing like we would do. It wouldn't even be too crazy. Like we'd have like maybe a circuit that would be our conditioning at the end. Like that was sort of the strength training side of things, and it would be like 4 sets of like 5 sets of 12 pull-ups. Just real basic stuff like that. But having had that many kind of basically reps and experience built up, it would make sense my back would kind of be ahead of everything else. Because we weren't, I mean, we were doing squats. That was that did not, big legs did not translate to getting a faster fucking, oh man, I can't even remember the names of some of those things. Every trick, every kind of skill has its own name. I can't remember. Kovacs and man, it's been a while, geez. But all that's to say, for me, back has kind of been a strong point. So my approach with it, as simple as it is, has been working for me. Just because it's a little bit ahead of the game. But I don't think it really needs anything too complicated. Now, if for you back is more of a weak point, if like you really need to bring up your lats compared to everything else, then it might just demand more attention from you to really get into the details of how you're doing it, and like you won't just be able to do some pull downs and see lat explosions. Some people just have genetically dominant muscle groups. And so for me, what I'm really working on is triceps. I'm trying to really change my tricep game up. Same thing with quads, but I feel like triceps a little bit more. Like I've almost not like flipped my training approach upside down or anything, but I'm really prioritizing a lot more feel rather than just, trying to gauge my workouts, sets, intensities just by how much weight I'm lifting, which isn't a bad marker. Right? A bigger muscle is a stronger muscle, but at what point are you just wasting your time? I mean, I feel like the sets of tricep rope extensions where I'm doing like half the stack, well, maybe a bit more than half the stack, but like 60 pounds on the stack, really slow, controlled, nice burn, and then a really slow stretch. Like I feel like that's more beneficial than a lot of the sets that I have done before, where I was loading up as much weight as possible and then not really prioritizing such a big lengthened position. It's kind of just moving the weight around. But it depends, because I still like a heavy set of dumbbell curls. It's just a little bit easier to, well, you can't not go through the full range of motion with a dumbbell curl. You're always going to get that stretch position. So, I mean, some muscle groups just kind of demand a different sort of level of attention to detail depending on, just to consolidate, like how good and how easily they respond to training. So for me with back, I'm really just focused on making sure at the end of it, I'm fully pumped. Lats, traps, everything else in between, rhomboid, kind of Terry's major style stuff. Like those are those kind of fancy little muscles in between your rear delts and your traps. So my way of doing that, reasonably heavy sets with some light squeezing ones as well, kind of a mix between, and then just kind of bouncing around. Like I'm not a huge fan of like a lat focused day and then a trap focused day. If for whatever reason, like your upper back, like your traps specifically, are overpowering your lats, then maybe back off, focus more so on just pull down style movements. But as far as, I mean, even though it is a big muscle group, and I get the logic, because with everything else, we pretty much separate it by what portion of muscle is being worked, right? I mean, you wouldn't do a long head tricep workout and a short head tricep workout, but we do side delts, rear delts, front delts, and each of those gets their own individual attention. Whereas with back, the interplay of your lats and your traps is so strong. I don't feel the need to consider your back as a massive like group of individual muscles which each need crazy specific individual attention. It's as long as you're hitting your pull downs, hitting your heavy rows, doing add some shrugs in there. I don't really do so many shrugs now, but that's only just because my traps are big enough. If I was doing manual trap work, I think I would look a little bit silly, honestly. And half of that is just to do with the fucking higher concentration of androgen receptors up there. But as long as your back's fully pumped at the end of it and you're getting reasonably stronger over time at a normal kind of pace, I think you're good. So let me staring right in the sun if I can turn left here. But that's something which you kind of have to decide for yourself. Because, like I said, if somebody has a bit of a weaker back, like, not to dog on you, but I mean, it's just the fucking state of things, you might need to fucking smack it around a little bit harder than somebody who's got a little bit easier, just kind of response to the back training. And that's something you need to take into account when you look at people who are when you look at people who's given advice, because somebody might have the fucking craziest chest in the world, but if their chest is really crazy just because they have baller chest genetics, then you might not need to listen to them about their training approach, because they didn't need to optimize it like crazy for their specific build, because their chest just fucking grew like a weed. So it's almost counterintuitive. Like, you may want to look for advice from people who have put a lot of time and energy into kind of really trying to find what works, rather than somebody who's got a some kind of routine that just clicked off the bat and just happened to be right. So that's where you do kind of have to figure that out on your own. But that's that's what's going to make you a more experienced and knowledgeable lifter. A problem is simply an opportunity to get smarter. Now, of course, it's easy for me to say that just guessing, right? If you're really getting kind of pissed that your biceps aren't growing as much as you want, it's probably not your first instinct to say, okay, this is just a problem, an opportunity. You're probably just going to say, fuck, I want my biceps to grow, goddammit. But, the logic applies. Just try to hit it in different ways, see what works, be consistent. And as long as your effort's there, the answers will be revealed slowly. That's what I think. And if you believe that, then even better. Right? I really hate to see it, and not to make this car talk like literally the full drive to the gym, but I really hate to see guys dogging on muscle groups that they're training where it's kind of a weak point for them, because it's never, I never hear them say, it's like, all right, I really got to fucking destroy my triceps today. I'm trying to bring them up, so I'm just going to hammer them extra hard. I usually hear it's like, my tricep insertions there, I gotta, or no, I barely hear this, but I see it commented a lot. It's like, oh well, I've got short bicep insertions, so it's like whatever, it's all genetic. It's like instantly blame your genetics and then just do a chest day instead. Not fucking cool. All right, every muscle deserves an equal amount of effort and training. And if you're a real ass fucking lifter, then you know that. Right? That's why anybody who's fucking real dyed in the wool meathead, they're not skipping legs. They're not skipping rear delts. They're not skipping hamstrings. They're not skipping forearms every so often. And they're definitely not skipping calves. So take with that what you will, but I think we've talked for long enough. I need to get a new pair of straps. I keep just borrowing the pair that's in the lost and found, but I'm getting a little bit worried that whoever they belong to is going to find them, and then I'm going to be left strapless. But I bet they're still there. So first movement to be decided. So this pull down, it's kind of one of those little stand-alone, like a little scrappier than kind of a typical stack, but super smooth, like it's perfect. A little bit light though, so 200 pounds. Usually I'm kind of bouncing around like 250-ish, but I think this will be good as a starter. So if it's a little lighter than I'm used to for a regular like 15 whatever rep set, I'm not just going to throw these around. These are going to be very, well, not too slow, but slow enough where I'm going to be feeling it the entire rep. There's a certain amount of kind of, I don't want to say gas you can take off, but if you're throwing weight around, like let's say you're doing a dumbbell curl, if you really throw it in the beginning, you get to just ride the momentum up to the top. So this would be a bit more mindful and demure, where it's kind of constant tension the whole time. Plus, with lighter weight, instead of just stopping like at this high, I can really try to feel like I'm gonna touch my elbows behind my back. That's kind of a good cue for a pull down that I use. There we go. Okay. Oh. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Let's keep doing a few more of these as a lat focused movement. And then combined with, for whatever reason, the fact that it feels extra good, I'll do as many as I feel like I need. Or as I feel like I want. Oh my gosh. Two more. Okay. Oh man. All right. Fucking hell, man. Lats are getting destroyed. I know I said I didn't want to do a lat focused day, but I'll do two more. Whoa. Okay. Let's move on. I accidentally had my fucking shutter speed extra high. I was taking pictures earlier. Damn. 180 degrees, goddammit, for video. Keep it in mind. But this row machine is heavy. And after those sets of pull downs, I'm not stacking this shit. 210 pounds out of the 315 available, more than enough. And same logic. Stretch, slow, little bit of a hold, really try to make sure I squeeze every bit of, well, everything I can, and then just go until I can't. Not too complicated. Okay. Oh, God. Oh. All right. One more. We're getting close to the end here. Whew. Damn. Fucking mid traps are wrecked. For the finisher, pump, blood flow, burning kind of work. So I'm going to sit right about here, hold on to this thing just kind of for added stability. But you're not really going to catch me do pullovers with a rope or a bar. I mean, it's like I feel it, but I don't get the same squeeze that I can get when I stand a little bit off axis and then with one arm really trying to pull my hand all the way back. But that's just me. Maybe for you, the rope is like complete lat annihilation. Keep doing that. But lightweight, 5 reps on either side. Good squeeze, good burn. Moderate, kind of a little bit faster tempo, and then pose down with a freaky ass lat spread. Sounds good to me.
Later.
Later. Ooh. 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 Yeah. Ooh. One more. Holy fuck. Okay. Got a little bit of rear delt activation with those, but all done. Go pose down. All right, go to pose down taken, or go to pose down spot taken. but it's not too packed in here. Little quick shirtless action won't get me into any trouble. So let's see what back's looking like, and then go eat something. Oh, I totally forgot I had this sweater. Fucking love this thing. There we go. All right, let's see what we're looking like here. May as well start from the back if it's back, right? Oh, yeah. Don't take much. So, back's coming along, chest is coming along, arms are coming along. Everything's fucking coming along. So really, this is just a waiting game. So let's get in the car. That was a good one. That was a freaking good one. And as expected, pretty simple. You know, didn't need too much life, well, not life, brain power to come up with that one. You know, I wasn't trying to do double integrals on my TI Inspire to figure out that some hard squeezing combined with some effort and some reasonable tempo on those reps will do me good. Now, to those who are potentially a little bit off-put when somebody tells, because I think what really sucks is a lot of fitness tips and not even, sort of debates, but just back and forths in comment sections. The problem actually is the medium. Because if you're talking to somebody at your gym and it's like one of your buddies or whatever, and he's doing something differently than you, and you have a real, like, actual conversation, people have a tendency to explain themselves when you're in person. You know, so somebody who I might ask, or if somebody asks me, like, you know, why am I doing this in such a way, or do I like this? I'm not just going to say, like, the rope lets me squeeze better, idiot. Comment. No, I'm going to say, well, I like to do it this way because I'll be able to feel kind of a slower eccentric and really kind of have difficulty throughout the entire rep rather than just, you know, make it hard in the bottom and then ride it back. Like, you know, the amount of explaining that people do in terms of commenting and, like, critiquing people's kind of form and everything else, the lack of explanation is where the negativity comes from. You know, because I could, I mean, you could look at a fucking video of somebody throwing around a ton of weight on a pull down, and if you just say, like, why are you throwing around all that much weight? So you're fucking stupid, you idiot. Or, you know, whatever. I'm not going to get so vulgar as these comments will become, but it's just not very fucking productive, you know? But then, I mean, nobody really, the point of a comment like that isn't like, okay, let me explain why, because then you're going to write a whole paragraph. It's just not how it happens. So, you know, if you're ever off put by somebody saying, like, well, you're wrong, you need to do it this way, it's like, maybe just listen to it, see what they have to say, take the information for what it is, and then, you know, if I can use your brain's power and your logic to decide, okay, is this something I should try, or is this guy, you know, an ex-personal trainer from 2010 and he doesn't really know what he's talking about? You know, like, you should be able to make that decision and that differentiation on your own. So the what I've been liking about these kind of slower controlled reps is it's just kind of a different sort of stimulus, you know? Like, I like, I'm still going to burn out with some kind of quicker sort of forced reps at the end of it, but in the beginning, to make these reps harder by doing them a little bit slower, having a really big hold, trying to feel every fucking fiber really start to contract, that is what I'm aiming for, you know? And it's just, you know, it's just different. So I was definitely in the wrong for having kind of a closed mentality and doing more so, you know, sets where I wanted to just make it as heavy as possible, because if I'm moving more weight for more reps, that means I'm going to have more size. Like, that was kind of where my conscious brain or subconscious mindset was, you know, kind of lined up when it came to these lifts. But I wouldn't say I'm totally out of that mentality yet. It's, you know, I got some ego lifter in me for sure. But there's a certain understanding that comes with, like, okay, this set is hard, not because it's crazy heavy, but because of the way that I'm going to execute it. And that is a much better fucking mindset to be in. Because not only does it make you have more versatile training, because you're going to be doing different kinds of sets instead of just all your eggs in one kind of basket, like, okay, heavier weights. Then, if you ever run into any fucking roadblocks, you know, be it tweaks, injuries, whatever, I mean, shit's just gonna happen. You know, you might fall off your bike driving to class and you spill, you scrape your knee, you kind of fucking smash your elbow a little bit. That one's a little story from experience. And then, you know, fuck, man, my elbow's kind of tender. I probably don't. Well, not even probably. I don't like the feeling of going extra heavy on like some kind of push down because I can tell it's like really, really twinging me hard. If your mindset with the training is make the sets as hard as they can be, then if you suddenly have to change one of the variables like the amount of weight you're using, that's not going to throw you off your game. You know, you can still go crazy with like 30 pounds on the well, I mean, depending on your strength level, of course, but just lightweight with you know, like a rope or like two long D handles, and really make it hard just by the squeeze and kind of a longer eccentric. You know, it's that's where I'm starting to see, and I've said this for a long time, and it kind of takes a while to actually like ingrain it, but I'm trying to get a much more open mind so that I can actually be open to certain kinds of new information and styles and everything else, and not just be so fucking like walled up where it's like, oh, I can do way more weight than that, so I'm gonna. Uh, Not always the answer. Not always the freaking answer. But my problem with that, and what kind of makes me think the other way around, is sometimes I feel, and this might just be like for whatever reason, this is what I think because of all the videos I've seen, but I feel like when you give an easier way out, or you kind of make it so that, you know, sometimes you can do like all out sprints, like if you're training for speed or whatever, like a track athlete, it's like, you know, your training should consist of sprints and, you know, like light jogs and like warm-ups and cool downs, and you know, do an even mix of both. I feel like people might hear that and then think, okay, well, if I can do an even mix of both, they're probably both about the same effectiveness. Let's do the easy kind of cool down stuff because it's the same thing. So, you know, I feel like when a really big name, fitness wise, is making videos and talking about working out advice, and they're credible because they're big, they've got, I mean, they're talking in a certain way, and then they say it's like, you know, you can do 5 reps in reserve and you can do lighter sets, and, you know, you can, like, that doesn't really fucking, what's the word I'm thinking of? That doesn't, well, let's just say that doesn't inspire effort in my book, you know, because if somebody isn't really, they don't have their whole head wrapped around training and how, like, you know, it's pretty simple in the fact that the harder you go, the better gains you're going to get. If you tell somebody that and you're like, you know, you can do lighter sets, man, you can do 5 reps in reserve, you know, hey, you don't want to go too hard, man, that's overtraining, come on, then that's not a setup in a situation where I think that guy's going to make crazy gains or become a lifter who's even capable of making crazy gains, because you're telling him it's easier than it really is, you know. So it's like, it's hard for me to think of another situation that really ties in the same way. But there is a certain value that comes with a, you know, head first into a brick wall approach with your training, where it's like, I want to go as hard as I possibly can, and then being able to optimize that after the fact. Those are the guys where, you know, just looking at kind of long form or like long term kind of journeys and stuff and developments of people's training, like I feel like those guys do the best. And maybe I'm biased because that's, I'm kind of just like reflecting that off of myself, but it's like, if the drive is there in the beginning, if it's like, dude, I want to fucking, it's a 25 set arm day, let's do it. 25 sets of biceps, let's hit this shit. You know, a fucking incline bench, heavy as possible, let's do this, come on. Like, if the, well, maybe not the amount, but if your kind of level of intensity and effort is something that's already like maxed out, like if that's your starter skill set and that's what you're trying to, you know, that's already topped out from the beginning, then learning to optimize your training over time, that's just a matter of course. Like, that's just going to happen, because the longer you train, the more smart you're going to get about it, or the smarter you're going to get about it, and the more you're going to actually care about your results. And like, if you ever start to realize, okay, I'm doing a little bit too much here, like too much weights, I'm starting to feel a little creaky, I probably got to back off the weights. It's, you kind of put yourself into a system where your training will just improve over time. But if that effort and intensity isn't there from the get-go, then I feel like that's hard to grow. So that's I'm not exactly sure what I could say to somebody if they wanted to improve that, because external kind of motivators, external sources of hype are, I mean, it's you can't force it. You can't force somebody to go as hard as they can. They have to actually want to do it themselves. It's like somebody's gonna have a fucking actually clean room, or they're gonna actually have clean dishes or whatever else, if that's like the bar, the kind of standard they're holding themselves to. If your mom tells you to fucking clean your room like once a week, screw it. Kick everything under the bed, barely fold it. Yeah, this shirt's still clean. Back in the clean line. Like, you have to want it yourself. So I can't. I don't know how to do that. There's no formula to tell somebody how to want it. So that's kind of on you. Look at whatever gets you amped up. Look at somebody who's in a position that you want to be in, and fucking go crazy from there. Play some Motionless in White, blare some any kind of music that gets you amped up, and fucking go nuts. But as long as that effort is there, and your fucking capability to say, dude, all right, I don't care how bad this burns, I don't care how sweaty I am and how fucking exhausted I am, I want to make this happen. That's almost more important. So it's like, obviously, I want to do my sets and my workouts in a style which is the most conducive to gains and the least, just risky, right? I don't want to do anything that hurts me. I've done it, and I've done it long enough to have kind of learned my lesson, fucking pulling my hamstrings and tweaking my rotator cuffs and like pulling my chest sometimes, and just all sorts of little shit. And those are kind of, really just lessons for me, which are now kind of adding to my optimization, I feel. So that's you'll just get smarter with it over time. You shouldn't expect to be that's a dog, not saying this in a dogging kind of way, but it's like, there's no reason to expect to be like completely informed about every kind of style of set and everything else as a beginner. It's like, whatever. If you do a set with like crap intensity of rope extensions versus overhead dumbbell extensions, both of those sets are still going to be fucking crap, man. If you go crazy and you're actually pushing whatever set you're doing as hard as you can, and then you just start with some basics, there's really no way to go wrong. So that's my thoughts there, right? It's like, obviously I want to optimize everything, right? I want to do everything smart. I want to do everything in a way where every set is as effective as it can be, and I'm trying to keep a better open mind to new kind of ideas from different sort of lifters over time. But you can't take away that baseline effort and intensity. That, I feel, is the backbone that is going to really let you build your training from. So if that ever goes, I got no idea what to tell you. So plan now, go home, slam some food. Arm day tomorrow. I'm not gonna bust the measuring tape. I'm not gonna bust the measuring tape out every arm day. That'll be like maybe once every 2-3 weeks or so. Because every arm day, it's the same thing as your weight fluctuations. It's gonna kind of bounce around. It's not perfectly consistent. So if you've got a measuring tape and you're keeping track of your arm growth, don't freak about measuring them every day. Maybe try to do that like on a once a month kind of basis. Because then every time you do it, you'll actually notice some growth, right? You're not gonna notice grass growing or paint drying if you just sit there staring at it. Just focus on going crazy and getting crazy arm pumps, and those inches will simply arise. So that's all I got. I'll see you tomorrow.